Hello everyone, it is time for this month's cherry challenge. This is a series I do with my friends Natalie, Nicole, and Jessica, and we are doing the clean and simple challenge over in a Cherry on Top's message board. The challenge this month is to cherry lift another member of the message board. I chose Crystal. And I showed you the layout. I'm going to scrap lift today. I'm going to start by die cutting loads and loads of donuts and coffee from all these different pinstripe and polka dot paper pads from Honeybee Stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I add some ink and different mediums to die cuts to give them some interest. I'm going to start with the strawberry frosted donuts. I made 2 of these, but I only filmed adding all the little details to one. And this one is going to be a chocolate donut. I'm going to go ahead and start with some Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink, and I am inking each of these pieces up a little bit differently. So the donuts are getting a nice heavy hand of ink, whereas the coffee's getting a lighter bit of ink. I'm going to also ink the coffee almost like I would color a stamped image, so just the edges, and create a little bit of shadow to give the coffee the look of being round, even though it is flat. This die set that I'm using is from Brutus Monroe. It is an older die set that I know has been discontinued, but if I can find one, maybe over at the shop, I will link it up in the description box below. It is absolutely one of my favorites. I love this coffee and donuts die set. For the lid of my coffee, I am using Distress Oxide ink in black soot, and again, just doing the 2 sides of the coffee mug because I really want the coffee mugs and the coffee cups to look like they are circular, and I really feel like adding that black soot ink just to each side of the coffee mug really gives it that look of being round. So I'm going to go ahead and place the icings on top of the donuts. For the strawberry donut, I am taking a Post-it note pad. I'm placing the donut onto the Post-it note pad, and then I'm going to take some white Nouveau Stone Drops and add the little icing swirls, and then I can just pull that top piece of the Post-it tape off and toss it in the garbage. Done, no mess. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the different pieces of my coffee cup. So there is the lid and the little sleeve. Look how cute these are. I love the tone-on-tone paper pads from Honeybee Stamps for these types of die cutting projects because they add just enough interest. Those tone-on-tone patterns add just like the perfect amount of interest without being a full pattern. So I'm placing the chocolate cream on the other donut, and now I'm going to grab my white gel pen, and I'm just going to go ahead and add some highlights to the top of the donut where the icing is, and also to the top of the to-go cup. I'm actually following along the little embossed edges that the die puts in the little to-go cup. Perfect, easy way to find where those highlights should be. So now we can go ahead and get started on our layout. Clean and simple layouts tend to be a little harder for me because I feel like the elements I choose to add to those types of layouts need to be perfect, right? So I feel like a cast layout is really good for things like when you want to create some really nice layered floral die cuts or something like that, because each element on a clean and simple layout is going to pack a punch. So for this layout, the photos are going to pack a punch. So is like my titling, all of that. And but so are the donuts and so are the coffee cups. So everything has to be interesting because you have way fewer elements. When you have a more layout and things are like layered on top of each other, and then you have some splatter, and then you've got some sequins, and then you've got, there's lots of things to look at. And while the little details on those types of layouts are lovely, I think the little details on the clean and simple layout are more noticeable, and they pack a bigger visual punch on your layout. For my background paper today, I am just using Lawn Fawn Spiffier Speckles. It is a tone-on-tone pattern paper. The back side of this paper, the little speckles are gold foil. I'm using the not foiled side of the paper because I wanted something that would read almost like a solid, but just have a little bit of interest. So I have 2 photos of, you guessed it, donuts. And then my third photo is actually a photo of the box, the top of the box that we got the donuts in. And I thought it was so cute, I snapped a photo of it, and it's going to act as the title for my layout today. So I'm adding a matte on all 3 of the photos, and then I'm going to ink those mats up using the Distress Oxide ink. So I pulled my camera in nice and tight so you could see all the different inking techniques and how I put my donuts together. But I then forgot to zoom out on my camera, so we're a little zoomed in for most of the rest of this layout. When I went through and looked at the footage, I thought it was pretty good. I thought we could use it. It would be okay. So we're just going to go with it. But if it seems like we're a little zoomed in, that's why. So here's kind of my plan. I'm going to put my photos exactly where Crystal put her photos. I am going to flip the title around. I'm going to add it to the right side of my layout. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a spot for some journaling where Crystal had her title. So I'm just going to kind of cluster up all of these donuts. I'm trying to put the donuts and the coffee where Crystal had those big fussy cut leaves on her layout in the same locations. And so once I'm kind of happy and I know where I'm going to go ahead and start putting the different areas of this layout down. And I'm going to use some foam tape to give the photos a little bit of lift and separation from all of the larger elements underneath the photos. For my journaling on my layout today, I'm going to use some pink champagne ink from Catherine Polar, and then I am going to stamp my favorite journaling stamp. It's just my perfect favorite journaling stamp. I'm going to stamp it twice and then trim it down, and I am stamping it right on top of this creamy polka dot paper that I also used to back one of my photos, and it's also the paper I used to cut the bottom layer of my coffee cup. I added foam tape to the back of both of my photos, and now I'm adding some foam tape just to the one side of that donut so that the donut's at the same level, the same thickness as my photograph, because it's going to overlap the photograph a little bit, just like that. I wanted my 2 photographs to be really nice and straight, so I am going ahead and using my T-square ruler to accomplish that, simply because when you're doing clean and simple, unless you're making things intentionally wonky, you can't make them accidentally wonky, and I really didn't want my photos to be wonky. So I admit that when I got done putting these little coffee cups and donuts onto my page, I felt so much like I wanted to add more. I was like, I should add glitter or sequins or splatter, something, just something. I need more paper. Absolutely. That was like the big thing. Like, I want more paper. But no, we're not going to do it. I have one last donut here, and then I made myself walk away. And I was like, it's done. It's done. It looks adorable. I love how these donuts came out. They're absolutely gorgeous. I love the inking techniques I used to make them look like real donuts, to make them look like the coffee cups were rounded. And I loved it. So I got up the next morning and I had my journaling done, and this is where I figure out that, oops, my camera was zoomed in too much. So the next morning I got up and I looked at it and I was like, I want something across the bottom. I really want something across the bottom, something simple. I had my journaling, I have my date stamp, and I want a little something across the bottom. And I know it was hard, but I allowed myself some washi tape. So I'm going to just add 2 strips of washi tape, just a little pinstripe across the bottom. And I think that just finished off the layout perfectly. It's still clean and simple, but just that little extra color across the bottom, I felt like that was just the perfect kind of icing on the donut, as it were. It added just a little bit more balance to my page. So here are all of the close-ups. Be sure to head over and check out Jessica and Natalie and Nicole's layouts and see how they did taking on this cherry challenge for May. Talk to you all soon. Bye.